A Housing and Urban Development report finding this: more than $5 billion in taxpayer funds went to questionable rental assistance recipients during the final year of the Biden administration. This report alleges more than 30,000 deceased tenants and thousands of potential non-citizens receiving these payments. HUD officials say a large concentration of the suspicious payments went to New York, California, and D.C., with dead recipients getting at least some funds in all 50 states. Former Biden HUD Secretary Marcia Fudge and her Deputy Secretary Adrian Todman have not yet publicly commented on the matter. But Scott Turner is here, the Housing and Urban Development Secretary. Mr. Secretary, good to see you, and thank you for coming on. What is your department doing to resolve these issues from this report? And I'd love to know how you stumbled upon it.
Well, good morning, Sean. It's great to be with you, and thanks for having us. You know, as you said, it is really just gross negligence and bad stewardship during the Biden administration. $5 billion in potential improper payments is really a disgrace and embarrassment for this agency, but we have been very intentional to be focused on the mission that we have here at HUD, and one of those is to be a good steward over taxpayer dollars, and so we have boots on the ground in Minnesota right now. We have people at HUD that are finding waste, fraud, and abuse. We have great partners in our CFO's office, so I'm grateful that this was found out, but we will hold those accountable that had defrauded the American people.
Yeah, very concerning, obviously, where everyone's tax money, taxpayers' money is going, how that's being spent. Obviously, being sent to non-citizens and dead people, that's not good. And you're on top of it. We do appreciate that. I also wanted to talk to you about what you just mentioned, Minnesota, the alleged fraud that's happening in that state. Can you talk to us about HUD's efforts in investigating the welfare fraud scandal in that state? What can you tell us so far?
Yes, sir. As I alluded to before, we have boots on the ground right now in Minnesota. The state of Minnesota, between Minneapolis and St. Paul, they receive about $150 million in HUD funds for housing. And so we have people there to make sure that hard-working taxpayer dollars are being spent in the appropriate manner. I know that with the DOJ, the president under his leadership, and really across agencies, we're going to hold people accountable who have defrauded the American people. People in this country work hard for the money that they earn on a daily basis to support their families. And one of the things we're doing here at HUD is taking inventory of these programs. And so the money that comes into HUD from taxpayers that goes out to people for rental assistance, Section 8 vouchers, and the like, we will make sure that it's being utilized appropriately.
You know, when the light was shed on the state of Minnesota and the fraud allegations could be totaling up to $9 billion, at least at this point, we've seen Governor Tim Walz step down, and we've seen a lot of pushback from other local authorities in that area, or those that maybe run these alleged daycare centers or learning centers, if you will. Then I've spoken to folks that are outside of it. You see the video here by independent journalist Nick Shirley getting the light on this story. I've heard from lawmakers in Maine and California and other states that fraud similar to the one found in Minnesota is happening in their states as well. Have you had an influx, sir, serving in your role, making you aware of fraud happening in other states that are similar to what happened in Minnesota?
You know, Sean, I'm not surprised to hear about this. During the Biden administration, what we found out here in particular at HUD is that this type of waste, fraud, and abuse was incentivized because there were no proper financial controls put in place. We are working very hard day by day to make sure that our verification system of all HUD funds going out is proper, that it's appropriate, that it's clear, that there's transparency. And so, no, sir, I'm not surprised to hear this because during that administration, the Biden administration, there was no stewardship of taxpayer money. But now under President Trump, under myself at HUD and other agency leaders, we will make sure that there's transparency going forward, there's accountability going forward of hardworking taxpayer dollars, whatever program it may be.
Let's talk about rent if we can. It's high. we know this. Secretary Turner, your department recently put out a report linking high housing costs to the Biden administration's immigration policy. It's interesting. The report found this, that in states like California and in New York, the influx of illegal immigration accounted for 100% of all rental price growth and more than 1/2 of all growth in owner-occupied housing in recent years. For many Americans, it is difficult to buy a home, at least right now. How is HUD assisting in this situation for home ownership to become a reality, or an actual reality for Americans to finally achieve, to buy that home that they've always wanted to do? How is HUD focusing on that?
Well, Sean, thank you for putting up that report. You know, the story is in the data. Over 12 million illegal aliens coming across our border has literally strained our housing supply, caused affordability to go up. 100% of rental demand in California and in New York is because of illegal immigration, over 60% of that across our nation. And so what we have done here at HUD is to ensure that no taxpayer funds go to illegal aliens when it comes to our FHA mortgage program. We signed a memorandum of understanding, a data sharing agreement with Department of Homeland Security to make sure that everyone that lives in HUD-funded housing is indeed an American citizen. We have put out a mandate to all public housing authorities to give us a comprehensive account of everyone living in HUD-funded housing, Section 8 rental assistance housing, to make sure that they are legal citizens of America. So we're taking the appropriate steps. We are not afraid to hold people accountable because, again, it's about stewardship, transparency, and accountability.
Well, let's talk about New York before you go. You mentioned that. The administration of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, the newly sworn-in mayor, is now attempting to implement a housing policy based on what they're calling collectivism. Mamdani tenant director Sia Weaver says this, and I'll play it for you, that she will be handling property in the city as a collective interest. Watch.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good, and we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently, and it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
Whatever that means, but she also posted this on X, which she has now deleted her account. This was back in 2019. She wrote, "Private property, including and kind of especially home ownership, is a weapon of white supremacy masquerading as wealth-building public policy." How does home ownership have anything to do with race from your HUD perspective, if you could comment?
From HUD's perspective, I'll give you a stat. Last year, HUD supported over 1 million first-time home buyers through our FHA and Ginnie Mae program. And it was not according to your race or your color or your tongue or your creed. The president, myself, and leaders in this administration, we want every American citizen to be able to achieve the American dream of home ownership. The statement that you just showed the American people right here is it's ludicrous. It's irresponsible. It's ignorance, if you will. They're already showing their hand that they're going to practice discriminatory policies as it pertains to housing. It's not about collectivism. It's about individuals and families working hard every single day to buy a home, to purchase a home, to support them and their families. And that's our focus here at HUD. I'm glad that she came out and she said that so people could see what they're really about. But I know one thing, we will not discriminate here at HUD. We are for every American people to achieve the American dream. That
is bothersome. It's offensive what she wrote, and especially if you live in New York City, you may feel like this is your administration for 4 years and there's not going to be any oversight. Can you comment from a HUD, from your position, Mr. Secretary? I know this is concerning for you. Will you be watching this administration in New York City closely?
You know, I think we'll all be watching very closely. But the proof is in the pudding. They're not ashamed to come out and say how they feel. And I'm glad that they're talking so people in New York City in particular, but around the country, can see the type of mayor and administration that he's elected. They're putting race over reality. They're putting race over merit and need. But at HUD, we're focused, number one, on our mission. We're very mission-minded to to provide affordable, safe, clean housing, and also to help people in America to achieve the American dream of home ownership. And I think you see it very clearly with the actions of the president, with the actions that we're taking here at HUD and across this administration. So there's great days to come, but I'll tell you what, that leadership in New York is going to be a tremendous, tremendous burden to the people of that city.
We'll leave it right there. I appreciate that. That's HUD Secretary Scott Turner. Secretary Turner, thank you.